again, what has been established as normal.
Okay.
If neglect is what you know, or what has been embodied in you when you're growing up, any slight affection you see, you shun away because we believe that we are not worthy of it. What is your baseline? I mean, if I grow up seeing alcohol in the house every other day, I believe that's something that should be there. If I grow up in a household that usually embodies domestic violence, most often than not, I will also engage in that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And do you think people should put their money together?
Touchy subject.
Okay.
But every other subject in finance is a touchy subject when it comes to relationship. I find individuality
much better.
Not really.
Okay.
Let me land.
Okay.
I find individuality when it comes to relationships and also marriage one key factor.
Okay.
Individuality in what sense? Yes, you have your own account, I have my own account, but let's have a shared account.
Welcome to the Uncut with X. Today I am with Miguel, a psychologist and an activist in the mental health space. Miguel was here on the second episode. So it's been a long time since we have had this conversation with you.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So how have you been?
I've been great, Manze. I've been very keen with the whole mental health space.
Yeah.
And I think, it calls to have more conversations on this. Yeah. And of course, with your platform, we can get to really enjoy and have this space to have these discussions and put, just what's happening currently and what's what the professionals have to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's dive into what we're going to talk about today. So we had planned to talk about attachment styles. So a lot of people may not be conversant with if there are attachment styles at all. So what are the attachment styles that are there?
Mm. Well, there is a lot of attachment style.
Yeah.
But I think should first let them know what attachment is.
Okay.
It is how we usually relate with others and these are the tools that we use or the method that we use to foster relationships.
Yeah.
Both platonic and romantic ones.
Yeah.
So there are two types of attachment style. There's the secure and the insecure.
Yeah.
A person attaching themselves securely and a person attaching themselves insecurely. But then in the insecure, we have three subtypes of how a person can attach themselves to these relationships. And they can be from avoidant.
Yeah.
There's an anxious attachment, and there's also the disorganized one. So they usually have different characteristics, varying on which one a person embodies.
And how do people actually form them? Because you've said there are different types of attachment styles, and how do people now get to have a specific attachment style? Is it how we were raised? Like how then does someone, get a specific attachment style and relate with it? Yeah.
Yeah. You see, when we grow up, in the different environments, that we grow up in since we're young, how we relate with the guardians, that is the parents, how they address our needs and how they fulfill them and the time they take to fulfill our needs, usually inclines a child to adopt a certain attachment style, which is usually evident now when they grow up.
So it's mostly, if I'm not wrong, so attachment styles, we get them from how we were raised by our parents. That is to mean that if someone was raised in a toxic environment, their attachment style will definitely be toxic.
Yeah, it can be toxic.
Yeah.
And of course, the defense mechanisms they form to address that environment, because they have to accommodate what's happening and also thrive in that environment. So now the coping mechanisms have to come in.
Yeah.
So these usually they embody them in their personalities as they grow up, and they are a reflection of how people do stuff today when they're grown up, that is.
And is there a difference from how you've said in attachment style, they both affect the romantic relationship and the platonic ones? Is there a difference, or someone who possesses a specific attachment style will be the same with both relationship, both platonic and romantic relationship? Or is there a difference? A case example, if I have a secure attachment style, will that be my attachment style for both relationships, or will I have a different attachment style depending on the relationships I have with different people?
Attachment styles are quite dynamic, and they change from time to time.
Oh, okay.
But it depends. Major life events usually alters one's attachment style.
Okay.
You've heard of instances where one has had these heartbreak. Let me just use that.
Okay.
They've been seriously heartbroken, or even first love.
Yeah.
They hurt a lot.
Yeah.
How one progresses after that can change how they attach with their friends and also with their romantic partners.
Yeah.
Even in friendships, there's this long-term friend you have been engaging with.
Yeah.
But then again, at some point, you break ties or something happens, one betrays another and you break ties. That hurts the most. I think friendship breakups hurt the most compared to romantic ones.
Really?
Yeah, because it's never planned. With a romantic, it's a 50-50. It can work, it can't work.
Okay.
But friendships, you are there for the long run.
Yeah.
So those types of major life events, maybe losing a loved one as well.
Yeah.
That can form different, or that can switch someone's attaching styles.
Okay, that's interesting. How then does someone then identify the attachment style they have? Because a lot of people aren't aware, me included, aren't aware of their attachment style or the attachment style they have on different people. And is it a thing that we should know? Should we be aware of the attachment styles we have, or, yeah?
I'll start with the last one. Yes, it's important for you to know how you attach with people.
Okay.
To foster good relationships. Because I feel, or I find that if you don't know your attachment style, you'll find yourself in the same maladaptive relationships or the same cycles that we do find ourselves in time to time. You really can't tell why you attract, quote unquote, attract a certain species of people, if I can call them that.
Okay.
And once you identify that, I think it paves a way to how you can maybe rectify or form good coping mechanisms to counteract that.
Okay.
To counteract that maladaptive decisions that we do make in choosing partners and also friends. Because now remember, in the insecure attachment styles, for example, if one is an avoidant, and another one is an anxious, actually these two usually go hand in hand.
Okay.
And
why do they go hand in hand? Because they're completely different attachment styles. Why do they go hand in hand?
You've heard of the north and north repellents. It's kind of the same thing, but they fuel each other's in that cycle. I'll let you know the characteristics now. Now, you see, a person who takes an anxious or a preoccupied attachment style is a person who sees their partner as their literal better half. Like there's nothing that can be wrong with them. And they deserve all the love. But when it comes to them perceiving themselves, it's usually hard for them to tell themselves that they are worthy of this love. So what happens as we go on, they usually find themselves very preoccupied with this relationship. that they don't want it to end. And these people, even in platonic relationships, they take their relationships quite seriously because they're able to identify the threats that will affect the relationship.
Okay.
Now, why anxious? Because they usually want to be in control and just to make a safe environment for a relationship.
Yeah.
In as much as I think it comes also with acceptance, and also some people pleasing tendencies to some extent.
Yeah.
Now, why are they attracted to the avoidant people? People who have taken the avoidant approach of attaching. Avoidant, they see themselves as good, like they are worthy of the love. Okay, and then they see the other person like they really don't need them to some extent.
Oh, okay.
They are okay even when they're with them. Now, these people usually avoid emotional intimacy and also do not want to depend on other people. They are very hyper vigilant when it comes to independence.
Okay.
Okay. Now, they usually shun away from emotional intimacy. But how are they attracted to the anxious?
Anxious ones, yeah.
Because the anxious really wants kind of an approval from this person.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But then do you really think the avoidant one usually wants to continue that? Usually wants them to be clingy.
Also, it's an endless loop.
It's an endless loop.
That this one demands this and the other one, it's like north-south.
North and south, yeah.
Kind of relationship.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
okay, so back to my question, like how do people know that they have specific attachment styles?
How do people know how they have? Of course, reflecting on your relationships. How do you relate with people?
Okay.
Do you find yourself always the first one to want to solve the issue? Do you usually take the fault even when it's not your fault?
Yeah.
Reflecting on these instances on how you also resolve conflicts
Yeah.
in your relationships can channel you into knowing, yes, you're securely attached or insecurely attached.
Okay.
Okay. Another thing, they're usually online talk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Try and identify which attachment style you possess.
Yeah, but you can use that as a pointer, not as a conclusion that this is mine.
Okay.
You can use that as a pointer that, yeah, maybe I should look more into this and maybe reflect on how well you have been coping with the relationships at hand.
Oh, now as a psychologist, is there a professional way to get to know that I have this specific attachment style and how it affects my relations with different people?
Well, yes, with psychotherapy,
Yeah.
when it comes to, we will guide you on identifying these patterns or traits that might have crisscrossed your mind or you have missed while, the hustle and bustle of life.
Yeah.
We are there to guide you on how you can identify it.
Yeah.
And also shedding light on these instances where, things might have happened, but you might have missed it to some extent.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, we will guide you on identifying them.
Yeah.
And then it calls upon you yourself to actually realize and actually just accept. And like, is that what I've been facing? Okay. Then from there, we'll be able to form strategies on how, or depending on where you want to be.
Okay.
Because goals differ from a person to another.
Yeah.
Depending on where you want to be, we will now demystify, or we put in strategies on how you can navigate through that. But then again, it's coming from you. Psychotherapy is very person-centric.
Okay. It has to be self-driven for you to try and figure out what attachment style you have. And does attachment style come up as a reason why we have a lot of divorces and separations?
Well, yes. To some extent, yes. Because most divorces are fueled by finances, which, according to latest research, finance is usually the backbone of most divorces. But then again, you've heard of the person who's not emotionally available, the person was not, just empathetic as I wanted them to be.
Yeah.
So yes, it can form as basis because we usually want that human connection.
Okay.
Despite there being money, and I'm sure a lot of people disagree with me there,
Okay.
but also, despite everything being there, human connections at the end of the day do matter. And if one lacks that, trust me, they'll start to find ways on how to get it, leading to instances of cheating.
Yeah.
And because if you lack it, you look for it somewhere else, which ultimately leads to divorce.
Yeah, and on finances, because you've mentioned it as being a factor why people separate. Like, what's your take on finances in relationship? Do you support 50-50 or are you for 100 in terms of provision?
Well, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's a controversial one.
It is. I usually find myself really thinking about it,
Okay.
Going 50-50, I don't know, going Dutch, to some extent,
Yeah.
it resonates with me, and to some extent it doesn't.
Why?
All right. Going Dutch, wow, especially on the first dates. Going Dutch is really shunned away because traditionally, a guy is seen as the provider.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you should provide for everything. And, just providence. And your worth as a man is seen in the providence sector, right? But then now again, if I settle into the traditional role as a man, are you willing to settle to the lady into a traditional role of a lady?
Yeah.
Because now that is misconstrued with empowerment. I want to be empowered, but also you take the traditional role as a man. But then again, traditionally, women have been segregated from empowerment to some extent.
Now, what's your stand on it? Because you're trying to take a centric position, being at the center. Like, what's your stand on that?
Yes, I'm usually at the center. I'm at the center of it because to each their own. I mean, there are guys or ladies who don't mind going Dutch.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if I can't provide or we can't do this, we are doing this for us.
Okay.
But also there are ladies who want, I don't want to take care of a man. I want to be taken care of.
Yeah.
Personally, I'll go 100%. But the lady has to be there to have a supporting role when needed, that is.
Okay.
And that does not mean they shouldn't be empowered. I want them to be empowered to such an extent. I know I can, if things go haywire, I have a chip to play.
Because I've had this conversation with some friends before. We usually have these conversations on such topics, and most of the females rather prefer men who would do 100. And most of the time, they usually say, "His money is our money, my money is my money," which I find not sensible.
Yeah.
Respectfully, because the current world we exist in, because most of them speak at a point of not at a factual point or not at a data-driven point, because they just speak from assumption or delusion, saying that they would want this specific guy. I love speaking in terms of data, because a lot of people aren't really high income earners. So for you to do it 100% in the global economy or even in the local economy, you have to be a high earner. That has to be constant. And men who are high earners are few.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
A lot of people make a lot of wealth in their late 40s or mid 40s. Mm-hmm. That's where they get a lot of wealth legally. So for them to speak that way, I find it not sensible, because if they're going to marry a 50, 40-year-old, that's okay. But if they want to marry a at least early 30 or mid 30-year-old, it's not going to make sense, because if you look at the data, few men who can do that, those are the few 1% who are at the top.
Yeah, yeah.
And when you narrow it down to the ground, not every one of them will get this few. So I usually find it not sensible. I personally would prefer a 50-50 kind of relationship, not necessarily 50-50 in you share cost, but in terms of, I'm using 50-50 just as a phrase to show the both of the parties supporting this goal and making sure that you're stable.
Okay.
So it's not only one person who is dependent, because most of the time what happens is, this is what I tell the women and this is what I tell the men. I tell the men who prefer 100%, and because most men who prefer 100% want their women to stay at home and become that traditional woman. But what happens if, God forbid, you die? What happens after that? You've left someone with your kids who is unable to, who has no work experience, who is unable to manage the businesses that you leave for her. So you've left them at a point of disadvantage. And what will happen is, she'll look for another provider to take care of your kids. The kids will probably get his name and they will fantasize him as the hero. You will be forgotten. And for a man, I feel like that's the most, for you to be wiped away from the face of the earth with nothing to show off is the most disgraceful thing ever. So that's why I disagree with the whole entire 100% thing. It's totally okay for you to do it if the other person is equally working, the other person knows how to handle specific responsibilities. Because if you don't put them up to task, they will be in a situation where they won't be in touch with reality. And it will be a lot of problems once something bad happens to you.
How do you define being in touch with reality in that aspect?
In touch with reality in what regards?
Because you've said that if you take 100%, the guy, the lady will not be really in touch with reality. Is it in the aspect that they don't know the work that's being put in?
First, they will not be conversant with the work or businesses you're doing as a rich person, because I'm assuming you're a rich person. And if you're not a rich person and you're doing that, you're definitely not going to succeed. So if you're a rich person and you do that, one thing will happen is, you'll need someone to run those businesses. So if your kids are not of age and your wife is not conversant to these businesses, what will happen is you'll go to losses, because you must work at the end of the day. Rich or poor, you must work at the end of the day. Another thing, they will not be, they will be in shock of how things run. They don't know what the bills you pay, school fees and everything. So there's a lot of things they won't be aware of that will find them by shock. Even money management as a whole, there's a lot of things they won't be aware of, because they're just used to someone providing, someone budgeting, someone managing the funds, doing everything. Now the reality will shock them. And if they are not well prepared, most of the time, what I've seen from experience, they usually look for another provider.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you have to look at your alternatives, right?
Yeah.
I can't blame them.
Yeah.
And as you've said, for guys to be in their bag deep, we have to get into 40s. But then, I'd say that seeing how the trends are going, I think in choosing a partner, you should choose a teammate.
Yeah.
Okay. Because now I can't have Ronaldo in front and I have Maguire at the back, because we have to attack and defend. Sorry to Man United. So I feel like in choosing what we'd like, I mean, if you're a guy and you don't really necessitate or don't resonate well with the whole Providence thing, then go choose what's out there for you.
I've said the 50-50 is a phrase in terms of, like, I'd even do 90, but I'd let you do 10% for you to be aware of how things run, to get a sense of responsibility. I am pro women having that empowerment and knowing that, there are also people who can contribute and be on the table. Because the moment I do 100%. You totally want to be on the negotiating table when we talk about certain things. Your decision won't count. And funny thing is, most men have found women to be good with finances because most of the time we are overspenders. And so in an African tradition setup, because I will speak of African since I'm an African, in an African tradition setup, the sort of modern African tradition setup, the woman is usually that economist. Then you're usually that, yes, you get the money, but you're sort of a spender, and she sort of regulates things and keeps everything in order in a way. So incorporating her won't hurt.
You don't want a baby girl. You don't want your own baby girl, you just take care of everything, because it's something that's happening as well.
Yeah, it's something that's happening as well. Yeah.
According to you, do you want a manager when it comes to finances? Because I think, as you say, we are banking on finances right now, not any other thing.
Because for me, it has always been creating a legacy. And one thing I know with legacies, you can't do it alone. You have to have someone to, be there for you. That's why there's a king and a queen. And these long-time dynasties are built on the foundation of familyhood and people playing their roles and, being there. It's like the case of how the England king died and her daughter took over. So there was that gap that was filled by a woman, and you wouldn't feel this dynasty being shaken. So for me, I feel like for dynasties, everyone has to play their roles. And even for her, she has to get that empowerment so that if in case you do not get to a certain age, because, death is, it's something that you cannot stop. And it's something that will happen at some point. So if that happens, God forbid, you leave someone who can take care of what you have, grow it, and it continues on without you.
But then again, also that roots into what's your attachment style to money or finances.
Okay.
Because now, if you come from maybe a background that's, you just hoard. There's the hoarding. Here you make, but you just hoard, and finding spending as quite as wasting money.
Yeah.
I think the relationship with money is going to be hard.
Okay.
All right. Now, seeing that at times, other people will find it quite easy to spend on other people.
Yeah.
Maybe you've gone out, you don't mind footing the whole bill. But when it comes to you,
or you can't do it for yourself.
You can't do it for yourself. Yeah. And you find it as wasting, and you really have to think it through. Like, I want to do this. I want to buy maybe a shoe.
Okay.
Right. So how much is this shoe? Oh, okay. Do I really need the shoe? But when it comes to your friends, they're like, no, don't stress. I got you.
Also, it's easy for you to do it to others, but yourself, it's hard.
Yeah. It can be hard, but that is the relationship with money. Others find spending quite not really. They're not okay. I can't say they're really not used to spending, but whenever you ask, maybe your parents, I'd like money to go to the library, and you're always told there's no money.
Yeah.
While you're growing up with this mindset, like, money is a scarce thing to have. So whatever you do with that money, what do you do with it?
Or more of a scarcity mentality.
Exactly. Which is usually a fallacy, really.
Yeah.
Operating from a scarcity mindset usually also influences how we
relate with money
and even people, because you usually ask yourself, where else am I going to get a friendship like this? Where else am I going to get a relationship like this?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you look at the Nairobi scene of dating, and you're like, hey, the market is not that it's not that good, man.
Yeah.
So seeing that we usually ignore the attachment bit to money, and that plays an important role also in the divorces.
Yeah.
A partner might describe their partner as a spendthrift, and another one is a hoarder.
Yeah.
How do you think that relationship will go?
But sometimes I think they work if you have a spender and a a hoard, as you've called it. I think it works better if that's the case, or if you're both. I think it will be crazy if you're both spenders, because at the end of the day, you won't have savings and investments. But if there's a mixture of that, there will be a guy who's like, don't limit a lot. Let's spend, and because money should be spent, and there's a person who controls it. Oh, and let's not overspend at the same time.
Well, there's a lot of conflict.
Yeah.
There will be a lot of conflict.
Of course, there will be. Yeah.
On money.
Yeah.
Which will lead to one feeling unsatisfied in other areas of life.
Yeah.
All right. The other person will now start putting their money as my money and their money as their money, not as our money, because I see you as wasting my money to do stuff that I don't see value in.
Oh, yeah. And do you think people should put their money together?
Touchy subject.
Okay.
But every other subject in finance is a touchy subject when it comes to relationship. I find individuality
much better.
Not really.
Okay.
Let me land.
Okay.
I find individuality when it comes to relationships and also marriage one key factor.
Okay.
Individuality in what sense? Yes, you have your own account, I have my own account, but let's have a shared account, because before we met, I had a certain lifestyle. You had a certain lifestyle. You had your own budget and stuff. But then a common goal put us together.
Yeah.
Let's have a shared bank account. So what do we want to achieve? Do we want to buy a house? Alrighty. Let's put money in there. And that's why 50-50 doesn't go a long way with...
That's basically the core 50-50.
The core 50-50. Like,
putting your money together.
Let's do this together. The 100% usually is quite hard in that aspect, because we have a shared common goal. So let's do this together.
Yeah.
So do you have projects you have on board? All right. One of you can decide maybe rent and utilities. I'll sort.
Yeah.
And everything of that sort. But shared common goals, and I think that's why your 10% is coming in.
Yeah.
Like you also chip in there.
The little you have.
Yeah. Put in there, because at the end of the day, we have these common goals that we want to reach. Also in future, we want to make each other better. In relationships, now what goes wrong is we want to be the partner we think the other person wants us to be.
Oh.
We want to fit their description of how we want or how we see their partner looking like. Now, you've never listened to Tupac. Now you want to start listening to Tupac.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to, this person is usually out maybe till 12, midnight. And you know, by 9 or 10, you're off to bed.
Off to bed, yeah.
You know? But I think some things can be compromised, but then changing your personality, because you find people saying that we have evolved in marriage.
Yeah.
We have changed. But what changed? The individual aspect of yourself. You used to enjoy going for road trips. You no longer go for road trips because your partner wants to settle, to stay in.
I think to some extent I'm afraid of that when it comes to now sacrificing the things I used to, because I personally enjoy alone time. Like there's some periods of time where I enjoy my own space, and is it healthy for someone to just enjoy their alone time even while they're in relationships?
Yes, and it's paramount that you do.
Yeah.
It is for you if you feel like you are down or you can't show up for your partner how you'd like to show up for them.
Yeah.
It's important for you to be honest with it.
Yeah.
I can't show up right now as your boyfriend, as your husband. Give me time so that I recharge my own, I fill my own cup so that I can be fully present for you. Yes, I do understand the whole, we have to do this together, you have to do this together, and it's okay. But then again, your alone time as well matters.
Yeah.
Taking you back to that insecure attachment style.
Okay.
You want your own space, and maybe the other person is an anxious, has an anxious attachment style.
Meaning they want to be there with you.
They want to be there with you, and it will appear to you as clingy. Why are you so clingy, man?
And a little bit naggy.
And yeah, exactly. You find them naggy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where now the disparity comes in, because you feel like you want your own space, and you feel like at times you really don't need the other person at that time.
Yeah.
But the other person wants to always make everything okay, but you just don't choose time.
To mean that you should be aware of what attachment style you have, and not only yours, but what your partner possesses as well, so that that relationship could be easy. Because I think it will be easier if I wanted my alone time and the imaginary partner understand that's my attachment style, and they know that I'm not avoiding them, but
Yeah.
I'm rather I enjoy this alone time. So do you think that it's important for people to, know their attachment style and also their partners?
Oh yeah, and this is where therapy comes in. Therapy is not just for someone who's going through something.
Okay.
Self-awareness is key in understanding your own emotions, your own patterns, and your partner's patterns. It's key in understanding what coping mechanisms are available for you guys to explore on in needs of conflicts, and also how do you resolve conflicts.
Yeah.
As we grow up, even as kids, maybe just take time to reflect. How do you resolve conflicts?
Yeah.
Take time to reflect. Is it because do you react how your parents did react, resolving their own conflicts, or it's different? Most of the time, it's usually the same. If you're one of your parents who are scolding the other, you'll find yourself scolding the other person.
Okay.
I mean, take time to reflect on that. Maybe they can comment down there.
Because there was this thing I saw. So P Diddy has this entire sexual assault case on him, and I saw also his son has the same. The same lawsuits were filed against him, the same ones that are filed against his father. So is there a relationship of how our entire character as individuals, relate to how we were raised?
Also, if I get you correctly, like the son has the same.
Of course, the father has more, but the son has the sexual assault lawsuit. So in detail, to give people context, he was accused of dragging women and taking advantage of them sexually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. The son has the same as well?
Those accusations were for the son.
Yeah, for the son.
But the dad has those ones and much more.
And much more.
Yeah.
Well, what do you grow up knowing as normal?
Okay.
What is your baseline? I mean, if I grow up seeing alcohol in the house every other day, I believe that's something that should be there. If I grow up in a household that usually embodies domestic violence, most often than not, I will also engage in that.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is normal? What have your parents or guardians established as normal? We usually take after that most often because we don't see anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
And we have not been educated against that. So I really can't speak much of that, but if that's the case, maybe imitating the role models in our life.
To mean that also attachment styles stem from how we were raised.
Exactly. It from when you are born or when you just enter this world. Your needs. That's where you'll find parents, when the child cries, they are attentive.
Okay.
But others will let the child cry for longer periods.
So those kids will sort of want more attention, or is it like a vice versa effect? If a kid was neglected while they were young, will they look for attention now that they grew up, or will they be okay with it? Like, is it an opposite effect or is it direct? For example, if someone was shown love, will they automatically look for love, or is it a vice versa, or how does it work?
Again, what has been established as normal.
Okay.
If neglect is what you know, or what has been embodied in you when you're growing up, any slight affection you see, you shun away because we believe that we are not worthy of it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Now, if we have grown up in a homestead full of love, we have attached securely. Anything else apart from that, we don't want.
Okay.
you know. But then again, when it comes from the neglect end, you might take an avoidant stance because you have known to be independent. So you are always, or you always know that you are alone.
Oh,
So you are always vigilant or hyper vigilant in you maintaining your independence.
okay.
Okay. But then going towards the anxious bit, you might also be seeking a validation from people.
Okay.
Like, yes, I'm here, and maybe that comes from, and you've gotten what you didn't have from friendship, that is love.
Mm.
Then you will always do anything to have that around.
Oh, that's completely interesting. This is off the charts, by the way, because we are talking about how childhood affects us as adults now.
Yeah.
Do you think this is true that people look for their partners, like the way they say their sons will look for wives who are like their mothers and vice versa to daughters?
Well, to some extent, yes. A person who embodies similar characteristics to either of the parent, that is looking for similar characteristics in your mom, is because of one thing. We all look for safety. How do you define safety? Your mom is always there to cook. Let's say for guys,
Yeah.
you're hungry, so there's food.
Yeah.
You get maybe a lady who always there's food around. Don't you think you'll be inclined to stay there because there's safety? You get to an extent that your mom was very listening or very caring. Likes to listen or just likes to banter.
Yeah.
The similarity we associate that with from us growing up, we will eventually look for that.
And do we also look for the toxic traits now that are in the parents also?
Oh yes, we do at times.
Oh, okay.
That's the baseline. Again, familiarity.
Oh, like as human beings, we are sort of conditioned to whatever is familiar is safe, and whatever is foreign is not safe. I think it originated from how we were, like the early man. Whatever you saw familiar,
Yeah, that's true.
and whatever wasn't familiar to you, you were afraid it might be danger or whatever it is. So I think it's sort of something that's put in us as a defense mechanism to survive. But now in the world that we live in, it affects us in other ways.
That's true. And the aspect of change usually scares one person when they identify their characteristics or their defense mechanisms or their attachment styles.
Yeah.
It is usually very afraid, or they're usually very afraid to change, or it's very uncomfortable to embody other character or ways that want to change that behavior or how we think. It gets quite uncomfortable.
Is there a way to change your attachment style?
Yeah, I believe you can. I
Okay.
believe identifying the maladaptive behaviors that you have.
Yeah.
By changing one of them, it's not going to be a one-time thing. No, it's going to be a gradual process.
Yeah.
It's going to take a lot of energy because, as you know, if you want to do something, you have to do. If you want to be perfect at something, you have to do it for longer. For longer periods.
Yeah.
So at first, it starts as very hard.
Yeah.
But as you go on, it gets easier. But then that takes one step at a time. And that's why you should extend grace to yourselves if you're out there looking to maybe just take a change in anything, actually. Generally.
Yeah.
Is it a job? Is it a career? Is it that space you're in?
Yeah.
Moving from one place to another, even moving houses, man.
Yeah.
We form attachments to where we are at in a certain neighborhood. So we usually don't want to explore what's out there because we usually are wired to think that might hurt me.
Yeah.
But you usually don't think about what if it goes great.
Yeah. It's sort of fear of the unknown.
Exactly.
Fear of the unknown because we don't know what might, be there for us, like once we flip the other side of the coin. Yeah, so this has been an interesting conversation. I mean, we can go all day talking about how attachment styles affect our day-to-day life.
Yeah.
So what's your closing remark on the entire topic?
Well, identifying attachment styles is important. It goes a long way in identifying your areas of improvement, and also it uh, amplifies the satisfaction that comes with relationships, both platonic and romantic relationship. Let's embrace therapy because it shares a lot of insights to this. And don't be afraid of change. Nothing can't be changed, and any other behavior can be changed as well. It is uncomfortable, but then again, it's not impossible to do. So just embrace that, and I look forward to having more of these conversations.
It has been an interesting
Yeah.
one. So yeah, thank you for coming.
Right.